Alright lads, it's time for Combat Patrol Carnage! Hello, welcome back to a new episode of Combat Patrol Carnage, and we're going to be beginning a brand new issue as we dive back into the Ork Boyz with issue 45. So we are at the halfway point now in the collection. We're going to be on to the last 45 issues and our last, 5 Combat Patrols we're going to be having next. So yeah, some awesome issues yet to come, but this issue is a bit of a repeat. So what do we have in the issue? Well, we have our build guide, so only 2 slight differences to the previous build guide. We're giving the boss knob a different set of equipment, and we're giving the big shooter boy a rocket launcher. Then we got our paint guide, so again it's going to be a very similar paint guide to the last one, but this time we do have the complete basing technique added in for additional detail. Then we have a battle record for this unit, as it's a totally different unit to the other unit. So we'll have 2 units of Boyz. And then for our core rules sections, we've got a look at missions and objective markers and how they are important to playing your games. And then finally, we got another scenario, a gooder crumpin. So no surprise, the frame is the exact same as what we had in issue 43. So yeah, we get our 10 Boyz, we get, I lost him, there he is, our boss knob up here. We're going to be giving him the power claw and the slugger with the bionic arm. We're going to have the rocket launcher this time around instead of the big shooter. And all the other Boyz are going to be the same. And of course, we've got our bases 1032mm with hex holes. So before we hit the table then, don't forget to of course do all the usual. Like this video, subscribe to the channel and drop me a comment down below. Hope you're enjoying all this content, and I hope you're looking forward to the completion of this collection. I know I am. There's some awesome models and kits yet to come, and we're going to have some really good deliveries. And I think I've worked out we're only about 3 or 4 paint issues away from having all the paints in the collection. Finally then, Combat Patrol Carnage is proudly sponsored by warbay.shop, your one-stop supply for all your hobby needs. They stock everything you need. You can find your very first army and get started with them, expand that army into an awesome force, and of course you can paint your army with all the paints available from the Games Workshop and other ranges. Finally, they also stock Combat Patrol magazines and past and present partworks on Hachette, so check them out. There's links as usual in the video description, or you can head down to the physical store and you might find your next hobby project at a bit of a discount. Right, let's go build these orcs and get them ready for painting. So here we are for our first time with issue 45, and if my mic cable would like to get out of the way and free my hand up, we can take a look at our frame. So we'll put our bases off to one side, as we'll need those in a minute. And here's our frame. That's the ugly side, there's a good side. So we've got our boss knob up here. So we've got the power claw, which we'll be using, and we're using the slugger. We've got the same back icon, sadly. Would have been nice to have a bit of variety. Then we got 2 of our shooter boys there. We got a couple of our chopper and slugger boys there. We got 2 more of our chopper and slugger boys with a 3rd one there. So that's our 5 choppers and sluggers. Then we've got our big shooter boy, who has either, well, the big shooter or the rocket launcher. And then we've got our final shooter boy there, and there's the remaining parts of our last chopper. So yeah, pretty cool frame. Looking forward to building and painting these guys. I really enjoyed doing the last 10. It was quite fun, although I did have one little model that wouldn't go together quite well, which I'll point out in the build guide when we look through. But yeah, I'll be building the boss knob again on camera, as well as our big shooter boy. So, right, I'll adjust the camera then, and we can dive right on in to issue 45. So here we go. What do we have in the issue? Well, I've already told you, but let's take a look anyway. So we've got our build and paint guide, as well as our collect guide for the Boyz unit number 2. We have missions for the core rule pages, and finally we've got our scenario, a good crumpin. So this issue is a little light on the content, but it's pretty much dedicated to building and painting your Ork boys. Other than that, there's not a lot really for us to do, so we'll do the usual of breaking this down into a build video, a paint video, and then a play video. So onto our build guide then, and we start by building our boss knob. So we've got the slugger, which replaces the big chopper, and then we've got the power claw here, which replaces his support arm. Then the foot and the front torso are the same. And we're using the head without the helmet this time, so we've got the exposed orky ears. And then we've still got the same jaw piece and the back banner as well. Then we got our boys, so we're building 3 slugger and chopper boys. Then we jump to a shooter boy. So this one I believe is one of the ones I actually had trouble with building. I couldn't quite get this to line up quite right. It took a while, and yeah, I think I put too much glue on, which didn't exactly help. And other than that, they really went together pretty easily. I think I did have trouble with this guy's arm. Again, the same problem. I put probably a bit too much glue on, and it was fighting me getting it into position. But yeah, they go on pretty well. They're nice models anyway. They go together easily as they're all push fit. And then, like I said, the only difference we got here is the rocket launcher boy. So we got rockets to go on instead of the extra ammo clips. And we got a different support arm to go with the weapon arm there as well. So, right, what we'll do, we'll bring in our frames and we'll get on and build our models. So, as usual, we'll get started with our boss knob. So we'll cut out the components we need for our first stage. So 50, 48, 49, 45, 47, and 43. And I've got the components on the other frame here for the power claw arm and the slugger arm. So what we'll do, I'll clean these up and we can start our assembly. So all our components are cleaned up. I did forget to cut out this leg, so I've done that now. And we can start our assembly. So the first part is to put all of our arms and our leg into position. So we'll run a bit of glue around all of these joints here. So we can push our leg into position. We've got our claw here, who needs the other half attached. There we go. And then that sits in to there quite nicely. Put a little bit of extra glue on, I think. And then we got our slugger arm, which goes in here and he holds above his head. And finally, a bit of glue around these remaining contact points. As we push in our front torso. Then we'll do the same as I did my last boss knob. I'll temporarily push into his base and then we'll add the details later on. So flip them over for our next stage. So we've already cut out part 54, so we need 51 and 53 as well. So 51 is the only part remaining on this older frame. And 53 is our jaw here. So I'll get those 3 bits cleaned up and we can attach them to our boss knob. So there we go, 3 components ready to be attached. So we got glue around the neck stump here. And we just got to thread that in to the hole go. Just need to glue it on his bottom jaw. So it goes into the hole like so. There we go. Looking really ferocious. And finally we got his boss pole to go on there. At least this time around we ain't got the horns in the way of reaching all the detail. So there we go, that's our boss knob built. Now on to our shooter boy. So like with our boss knob, I've clipped off 39, 40 and 41 off of the older sprue. So now we just need to get pretty much all the body components. So 38 here, the head. 34, his front torso. 37, his back torso and legs. And that is it. So I'll clean all these components up and we can assemble our boy. There we go, we've got all of our components for our big shooter boy. So now we need to start assembling him. So first part to attach is his rocket launcher arm. So just line up the post into the hole and push. There we go, until it's firm. Then glue into here and then glue onto here as we line up. The support arm. So there we go, it should look like so. Then simple matter of gluing this two halves together. I just noticed a bit of mold line I felt. There we go. So we've got a post there that goes into there. There should have been a peg, but I accidentally cut it off. That's fine. We'll line up, push it together, and that should give us a nice tight seal. And then finally we've got our head that goes in badly, apparently. Get the peg hole lined up. There we go. And then finally, these spare rockets. Bit of glue on his base, on his feet even, and then onto his base. Ready to blow up, well, anything that comes near him. So there we go, that is it for the first video of issue 45. Short and sweet, but we've got two models ready to add some paint to. I'm off now to build up the rest of these guys and get them all painted, hopefully in time for filming the rest of this video later on in the week. But all that's left me to do then is to say thank you all very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time on Combat Patrol Carnage. Goodbye.